JA, this is massive for us. We're going to welcome on our international rock climber onto the show. Thanks so much for coming on. Kyra, Condie, welcome to Game Set Wrap. How are you?
I'm good. Yeah, thanks for having me, guys.
No worries. JA?
You look, Kyra, Mac, can I just say, I have a full list of achievements for Kyra, and look, I don't think you're going to believe it, so let me read the list to you. So firstly, she's an Olympic sport climber representing the USA. In 2018, she was a gold medalist at the Pan American Championships in the women's combine in Ecuador. In 2018, she was first place in the Bouldering National Cup in Texas and also finished first in other competitions in North Carolina and Montreal, Canada. In 2019, she was the gold medalist in the US Climbing Combine Invitational in Salt Lake City. And then in late 2019, secured her Olympics invitation by making the finals at the Olympic qualifying event in Toulouse, France. And she's only 24. Now, Mac, that's not all. Off the climbing walls, she's also made the 2021 Forbes Sports Athletes list of 30 under 30. And she's on the board of directors of USA Climbing. But Mac, we just spoke to her on air before, and she told us that above all, the proudest moment of her career to date is to make it onto the Game Set Wrap podcast. Now, Kyra, can we confirm that everything I have just said is true?
Absolutely true. Yep.
Love it. Welcome on. This is, thanks for taking out the time to have a chat with us. We're really excited, obviously, with the Olympics coming up this year and your sport climbing, being one of the new ones introduced. We just thought we'd have a chat and get the listeners involved and hopefully get behind you for the upcoming Olympics. So we'll run through a few questions. I think off the bat, the sport itself, maybe if you can just explain to our listeners a bit about the format and the events and how it's sort of going to run at the games, just so they get a bit of a context, because we're not too familiar with it over in Australia.
Yeah, so the format for Olympic sport climbing is actually different than most competition climbing. Basically, when we were accepted into the 2020 games, they told us that we would only get one medal, and we wanted to be able to display all aspects of competition climbing. So we didn't want to only put in one discipline. So that's how this combined format came about. So basically, there's three main disciplines of competition climbing. There's bouldering, lead climbing, and speed climbing. And the Olympic format is a combination of all three of those. So you actually end up competing in all three disciplines, getting a rank in each discipline individually. And then the final score is based on like the multiplication of each of your ranks. So say I win bouldering, win speed, and get 10th in lead, then I'd have 1 times 1 times 10. So I'd have 10 points. Okay. And then if anybody has less than 10 points, they would win. Or if not.
Right. Okay.
So it's purely, you go, Jaya.
So do you have a pet event? So is there one that you're better at than the other three? Is there, say, is bouldering yours and then you're not very good at one of the others, or not? You're obviously amazing.
She's an all-rounder, Jay. She's good at them all. She's made the Olympics.
Obviously, you're good at all of them. But is there one that you're better at or best at?
Yeah, so this format definitely really sent a curveball to basically all the competitors, because almost all of us have a discipline that we specialize in. So I personally am more of a boulderer, whereas there's a lot of speed climbers and like pure lead climbers who climb on the World Cup circuit. And so this format really like changed everybody's training a lot. Oh my gosh, my cats are fighting in the background.
No, I love it. I am listening to you, but I'm also watching them as well.
Yeah, there's a lot going on.
So this format was like a huge curveball because most people had never even touched a speed wall before who were bouldering specialists or lead specialists. So it actually really suited the Americans really well because a lot of us had grown up in the youth circuit, and we tend to do all three disciplines here. You don't usually specialize until you're an adult, which is unusual in other countries. So like in Europe, most of the time they specialize a lot earlier and haven't even touched speed walls or things like that. So I think that's partially why we have a full team from the US, like being represented in the Olympics. But yeah, so I definitely like bouldering the best.
Yeah, amazing. So it's not a team. There's no team event. It's all individual, and the winner takes all.
Yeah, so it's totally individual. Like we have a US team and US coaches, but when we're competing, we'll be competing alone. And basically the 3 disciplines, like bouldering is without a rope. So the climbs are only 10 to 15 feet tall and you fall onto a pad. And you have 5 minutes to complete a boulder. And if you can, like, the goal is to finish it. And then you get scored on basically how many climbs you finish. In lead climbing, it's like the kind of classic climbing. You have a harness and a rope, and so you climb a lot further. It's more endurance based, and that's about how far you get. So say I get to hold 50 and somebody else gets to hold 55. Obviously the person who gets to 55 will win. And then in speed climbing, it's kind of the most obvious. It's a race. The climb is always the same. So I could climb on the same route in Chicago as I could in Moscow, and it'd be exactly the same. And it's like regulation all the way down to the type of texture that's on the wall. And so that one is like really exciting to watch because the fastest times are like 5.2 seconds for 15 meters. So.
Whoa.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
That is a quick event.
The women's record is like 6.9. So.
Wow. And so in the race, does it just come down to time or is it come down to heats where it's 1-on-1?
So qualifiers is just time based. So you get 2 runs. You can't false start, obviously. And your best time is what gets you into finals. And then in finals, it is kind of heats based. So there's a bracket and first goes against 16th place, second goes against 15th place, and then, it's elimination. So whoever wins that race goes on to the next round.
That's so good. So I think that explains the sport itself. In terms of your involvement, maybe you want to go back to the start and just sort of how you initially got into it, but also touch on the injury that I guess came about and how you got through that.
Yeah, so I started climbing when I was, I think, about 10 years old. I went to a birthday party at the local gym and was just, in love with it immediately. And it was about a year and a half later, I had already started competing. I had started going to national competitions and stuff like that. I discovered I was having really bad back pain and I didn't know where it was coming from. And so it was actually not an acute injury, but it was more, it was scoliosis. So I grew into it. And so basically my back was S-shaped instead of a straight line. So really not ideal.
For climbing, yeah.
And so my coaches didn't really notice it because it was an S curve. I was still pretty, I looked straight, I guess. And so they would only notice it when I was climbing. I'd look like I was favoring one side a lot, or if I was doing push-ups, it looked like I was really leaning. So I'd be being told that my form was really bad when really it was my back. I had no control over it. And so I actually diagnosed myself with Google. I was causing back pain at 11 years old. And it was maybe you have scoliosis. So I had a friend at the gym who was a physical therapist, and he had me do the test where you touch your toes and look for a rib hump. And he was like, "Oh, you definitely have scoliosis. You should go to a doctor." Told my parents, went to the doctor, and it was pretty bad immediately. Usually you catch it when it's around 20 degrees, and we caught mine at 52 degrees. So pretty severe already, and basically immediately needed surgery. So found a surgeon and got 10 vertebrae fused, and then had to take 4 months off climbing. Basically just enough time for the bone to heal, and then I was back. Basically, didn't have to do any other PT or anything.
Wow. So from surgery to then going back to the wall, it was only 4 months.
Yeah, I think luckily little kids are bouncy. You can kind of just bounce back.
We're past 30 over here, so I think we'd take a little bit longer to recover.
Yeah,
exactly. Even at 24, the idea of getting that surgery now would be oh god.
So do you find that do you need to accommodate in another way? Does it still hinder you in a way, or is it you totally are you totally fine after the surgery now?
So it does still hinder me occasionally. The biggest thing is I can't twist or bend those vertebrae at all. It's kind of like you were to put a one bone where you typically have a bunch of joints. So I can't twist very well at all. Really lacking in what are my words?
like laterally?
Well, there you go. My mobility is really bad, like especially twisting and side bending. So occasionally there's moves where you're like maybe in a little roof and you have to like lean back and grab a hold, and that's really hard for me. Or sometimes you have to put your foot where your hand is, and that's really hard because you have to side bend. So there's definitely times when I notice it, but I think in general it's helped me like develop a style that's really specific to me.
Yeah, you seem really determined. Like, initially, was the diagnosis that you wouldn't climb again, or you would eventually get there, or you knew you'd always get back?
I think
Was the news
I
always
was
good?
I was always certain that I would be able to climb again. I don't think my parents were as certain, or my doctors necessarily. The very first doctor I went to, or surgeon I went to, told me that climbing wasn't very important and that one day I'd have a family and sports wouldn't mean very much to me. And like, even at 12 years old, that did not sit very well with me.
Yeah.
And so I told my parents I didn't want to go to that doctor. I wanted to find somebody else. And they were kind of hesitant because he was a doctor at a really renowned hospital in Minnesota. And so we didn't want to not go there, basically. And so we ended up going to a different doctor, and he was really reassuring immediately. He told me that I could send him a picture when I was on top of the podium and all these things. And so I really liked him.
Yep.
And so I kind of pushed my parents towards that doctor. And it was a really good decision for multiple reasons. I think he even ended up fusing less vertebrae. The other doctor wanted to fuse 12, and that would have like made me way more immobile. So
yeah.
So, Kyra, what makes the best rock climbers or sports climbers? I mean, does it help to be short or tall? Does it help to be, I don't know, like where most of the strength in the upper body, the lower body? I imagine your hands must be so strong based on watching videos of you just climb sheer rock faces with nothing to grab onto, and you just put in your fingers in these tiny little holes and just hanging by one arm. What makes a great rock climber?
Yeah, what's actually really interesting about climbing is that really anyone can excel in it. It seems like kind of most body types can. It's one of the only sports I've ever seen where you can go to a gym and have like an athletic adult guy be just totally like have his ass kicked basically by like an 11-year-old girl. Like it's like the only sport that's like that, you know? Like, it is crazy.
She's sending you a message there, JA.
Yeah,
but
I'm
it's
sure
like,
she'd
I
get
feel
me
like there's not a lot of sports that are like that. You know, maybe gymnastics is kind of like that as well. But it's really strength to body weight ratio based. And there's different ways that you can excel. Like I'm really good at small holds and pinches, whereas somebody else might be really good at like full body, like squeezing climbs, kind of where you have to like use your whole body. And that just takes a really different body type sometimes. So like in climbing, you can usually find something that suits you, which is really cool about it as well.
So, Kyra, myself and Mac, we were talking off air, and we were thinking who would be the best rock climber out of the two of us. Now, what we want to do is we're going to give you 30 seconds each about why we're a better rock climber than the other. And then, as obviously the Olympian expert, we want you to choose one of us as to who would be the best, just based on that 30 seconds. Can you do that?
Okay. Yeah.
Now, Mac, do you want to go first, or do you want me to lead the way?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a pretty easy decision, Kyra. So I'll keep it short and sweet. But okay, one spot on the Australian team. I don't reveal this to too many people. This is a secret, but my mum tried to put me in any sport that wasn't physical when I was younger, and she enrolled me in jazz and tap dancing. Now you're going to laugh, but my flexibility as a young kid and still to this day is through the roof. Like it's unbelievable. I can put my foot up here. Like it's incredible. And there's also one little secret you should know about JA. He's got a bit of a birth defect with one of his pinky fingers. I don't know if he could hold it up to the camera just to see, but it would definitely hinder him. Look at that. It's not going to help him on the climbing wall. So I think it's a pretty simple choice if you had to make it.
Now, look, Kyra, I didn't know that we were going to be taking pot shots at each other. So firstly, I'll just talk myself up. Look, I'm not the strongest guy out there, but what I lack in strength, I give in effort. I think I was always born to be a rock climber, just based on my Spotify playlist. Like It's the Climb by Miley Cyrus, Ain't No Mountain High Enough by Marvin Gaye, Climbing Up the Wall by Radiohead, all in high rotation. So it's sort of like an innate thing. But apart from that, I'm easily coached as well. If you say jump, I'll say how high. If you say climb, I'll say to the top. So that's why you should choose me. But also, Mac is ridiculously scared of heights. So there's no way that he should be in the team. He's not a rock climber, no way. So that's why you should pick me.
I stay on the third floor. I'm not afraid of heights.
So Kyra, just based on, I'll give you 5 seconds to deliberate and decide. But who do you think
who's going to the Olympics?
Yeah,
man, it's a hard decision. I think as far as persuasiveness, JA might win.
Yes.
As far as climbing ability, I don't know. I'm feeling that Mac would beat you in a race.
That's what you need. You need climbing ability.
Kai, can I just get you to say on record that JA is going to the Olympics over?
No, we're both going, I think.
Okay, I think in 2024 it's going to be JA, but it's going to be a tight race.
Yes, you've made my day. You've made my year. That's amazing. I'm so happy.
Well, I'm just going to have to get training. It's as simple as that.
Yeah.
I mean, I knew it. I knew I was going to be on the team straight from the get-go. So thank you for confirming. I've had an Olympian tell me that I'm now going to go to the Olympics. So that's fantastic.
Yeah, there's 2 Aussies going for 2021 as well, actually. They just
really?
had the Oceania Championships, yeah.
Are they friends of yours, or do you know them?
I know one of them really well, Oceania. She's from Melbourne. She's super strong. She's made finals at World Cup.
Oh, nice. We're both Melbourneians as well.
Oh, really? Yeah. So she's super strong. She'll be there. And then Tom, I don't know where he's from actually. And there's a couple Toms, and so I'm forgetting which one this is last.
We're all aboard We're all aboard your train. So we'll be supporting Kyra. Don't worry about the Aussies. We're firmly on board the US train.
No, because I was looking at the listings, and have they qualified after you did in 2019? Because I haven't found any Australians that were in there.
Yeah, so the qualification process was world-based, not necessarily country-based. So, for gymnastics or something, there's like US team trials. But for climbing, that wasn't the case. You had to qualify at either World Championships, the Toulouse qualification event, which is where I qualified, or you had one more chance at the respective continental championships. So I couldn't compete at European championships, but I could have competed at the Pan American championships. So there was 5 different continentals: Asian championships, Oceanic championships, Pan American, European, and Asian. And Pan American was actually the only one that happened before lockdown. And then all the other competitions had to be postponed. So Oceanic championships actually just happened really recently, whereas Pan American championships happened last March. So it's been a really long time. But yeah, so they qualified. I think it was, when is it now? I think it was February.
Yeah. Because I was about to say, how did that work? Like, obviously such a high of making the team. Like, how did you celebrate that? And then obviously the news of potentially no Olympics and the dream may not happen. Like, how was that roller coaster?
Man, yeah, it was crazy. The 2019 competition year was already just absurdly stressful. I went to more World Cups than I had ever been to. I previously had only been to, I think, 4 in 1 year. And one of them was always in the US. And this last year I went to 11, I think. So it's like 11 different countries, like just traveling for most of the year. Amazing. Trying to stay in like tip top shape in all 3 disciplines at the same time. And I was really focused on this Toulouse event. And to qualify for Toulouse, you had to do well at the World Cups. So you only got an invite to the Toulouse Invitational if you did well enough at the World Cups. So that was stressful. And then you actually had to perform at that competition in Toulouse. So I got to Toulouse, and that was a big relief. And then, at Toulouse, I was so stressed. I couldn't sleep that entire week. I was just picturing myself speed climbing. And then that event, you had to come in the top 6 of countries that had not already qualified. So I actually got 7th at that event, but there was 2 people from Japan in front of me, and they had already qualified 2 athletes. So invites actually ended up going down to 10th place because each country could only get 2 per gender.
Right. Okay.
Did you find that obviously you qualified at the end of 2019, and there has been a lot of time off. Have you found that the year off has helped you improve in certain ways? Has it helped you prepare better, or has it been a hindrance, would you say, to the lead up?
Yeah, so I guess I didn't answer the other question too. I obviously was like very disappointed when the Olympics got postponed, but it was actually kind of a relief because we were really worried it was going to just be canceled. And so that would have been way more disappointing. And so postponement was actually kind of a relief when that came. And actually, I do think that the year off for like the US team, especially, we all qualified before lockdown. So there's 4 of us who are qualified. And so we were really able to keep focusing on the Olympics, knowing that we were going. Whereas a lot of people hadn't even qualified yet. So they were still having to stay motivated to train for a spot that they might get. Whereas we were training for a spot that we already had. So that was, I think, a little easier to stay motivated in some ways because we had the goal that we were for sure going to. So I really felt for the athletes who had to still qualify because that was a tougher spot to be in, I think.
Are you just so excited to go? Are you just ready to get there? And I mean, it's been such a long wait to get there. Are you just ready to start climbing those walls?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I mean, not too many people get to be qualified for the Olympics for over a year and a half. It's like kind of this like
surely
really
you're milking that. Surely you're just going around town, just down the coffee shop, just front of the line.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, I think swimmers qualify the month before the Olympics, and it's just this insane media like training insanity right before the Olympics. And so even when we qualified, it was 8 months out, and that was a long time. And now we're at like a year and 8 months or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's crazy. But yeah, just trying to like see it as optimistically as possible. It's more time to train, more time to get stronger, more time for opportunities with partners and everything. So it's been good. I am excited that it seems like things are moving forward, and hopefully we have an Olympics this year. So
yeah. Yes. Well, fingers crossed. It seems like you're going for it. She's got the gold already, Jay. I recken she's an extra.
You know what? I can see it.
Off.
I can. She's
the Aussies are in trouble.
Gold.
I don't know who this Tom guy is, but he's he's in trouble.
So I think we can safely say that we've got the gold medalist right in front of us. But who are your other rivals? Do you have any close rivals? Is there a bit of, I don't know,
someone that you come up against regularly that you've got their measure, or you seem to always compete against them? Is there someone out there that we can start trying to sabotage?
Oh man, I mean, so climbing I think has a lot of camaraderie in it. There's not a ton of like stark rivals, I feel like, in the climbing community, especially competition climbing community. There are some people who have been far and away the best. For example, Janja from Slovenia is just absolutely incredible. She won the entire bouldering World Cup circuit last year, or 2019. And is just like, so she's definitely the favorite for gold, I would say. And there's some climbers from Japan who are also just total legends. And so I wouldn't say they're rivals, but they're definitely like my biggest competitors as far as at the Olympics. And there was, from the US, we had 6 girls who had a probably equally good shot of qualifying, and there was only 2 spots possible for going to the Olympics. So that was really stressful in 2019 because, there was 6 girls who were all just as deserving as each other, I feel like. And it was hard. Just all friends. So it was a really competitive year, and that was really difficult as well.
Yeah, I bet.
Well, Mac, I know that obviously there are some Aussies in the sports climbing at the Olympics, but I think we can safely say that we are adopting Kyra as an unofficial. Well, we're officially adopting her as an Australian for the Olympics, but I think
for sure,
unofficially, I think obviously going to be climbing for the US, but unofficially also climbing for Australia, because after this, all of Australia will be on board and we will definitely be cheering you on. So we are definitely adopting you and we will be behind you all the way, even more so than the Aussies. We love the Aussies, but we're on board. We're
All right.
on board.
Just a couple of last ones. What are you looking forward to the most at the Olympics? It's obviously such a unique experience that obviously the majority of people never get to experience. But things like the Olympic Village or the opening ceremony or just being in, you know, an environment like that where it's the best of the best and you're all competing, what are you most looking forward to?
Yeah, I mean, before all the COVID safety measures have been put in, I was definitely going to say, you know, meeting other athletes from different sports. There's not a lot of crossover that you get in climbing. So you don't get to meet other people from other sports, but I don't know if that's really going to be something that we're going to be able to do in 2021. Hopefully.
Have they said anything? Have they given you guidelines or things already about what you can and can't do?
We likely won't be able to do opening ceremonies, which is a bummer because that was something we were looking forward to a lot. But I think we'll get to do closing ceremonies. It kind of depends on when you compete. So we're not allowed to be in the Olympic Village until only 5 days before you compete, and we're one of the last.
I was going to say that. You can't get your event done early and then go off and celebrate. You've got to be right at the end, eh?
Yeah, exactly. So we probably won't be able to do opening ceremonies, but we'll still be in Japan for it. But yeah, definitely, I was really looking forward to meeting other people from Team USA, from other countries, of other sports, because the climbers are all super tight knit, and you know, I feel like there's just like an instant connection that you have with other athletes. You just know like what work has gone into getting to where you are, and so I was really looking forward to that. Hopefully, that's still something that like we can do.
Happen. Yeah, for sure.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I guess, Kyra, what does it mean to have sports climbing as an Olympic sport? Because obviously, you know, you've done it your whole life and you've been very good at it your whole life, but now you can call yourself an Olympian. I mean, what does that mean to you?
Yeah, it's crazy. I have always been a huge Olympic fan, but climbing it wasn't even accepted into 2020 until 2016. So I was already out of high school at that point, had plans to go to World Cups, but still hadn't, like, Olympics wasn't even on my radar for 2020. I thought, you know, maybe 2024. And so growing up, I always had Olympic idols. You know, I loved Gabby Douglas, who was a gymnast from the United States. Usain Bolt, you know, just like the classic Olympic moments I just always loved. And so I think, you know, what I'm most excited for is to have young climbers across the world really have it to look forward to as a goal, because like I didn't have that. I looked up to other athletes, and so to have climbing on that stage is going to be really cool.
Massive.
Yeah, absolutely.
You just touched on Usain Bolt there. I know we're getting ahead of ourselves here, but if you do get there, you're on the speed climb, you get to the top. What's the celebration? You got a little signature move that you can't be doing these ones, but is there something you might pull out?
I don't know if I can pull off something as, you know, epic as that. I feel like the classic climber thing is to do a fist bump at the top. You finish the climb and then you do this. Yeah. That's like the classic thing that climbers do.
Classic.
I love it. Well, you can call it, you can call it your own when you're lifting that gold.
And now,
exactly.
Kyra, we've seen so many videos of you doing crazy stuff, and just your strength is amazing. Are there any sort of weird training things that you do that people might not know about, that maybe it's just, you know, unique to yourself, or just things that climbers would do in their normal training regime that non-climbers might not know about?
Yeah, actually, I was talking to some people about this recently. The thing that usually makes climbers have to have a rest day is our skin on our fingertips, which is so unusual. I feel like, you know, like a swimmer would never have that problem. Like, oh, my skin hurts today, I can't climb.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I can't swim because my skin on my fingers is bad. But it is a real problem. Like, different skin types have different issues. Like, I have really sweaty tips, and so sometimes they're really slippery. Other people have really dry skin, which can also be really slippery. And so your skincare routine for your fingers is like crucial.
Can you talk us through? Can you talk us through that process?
Yeah, so I'm actually currently trying to figure that out, because Japan's going to be really hot and humid, and I already have sweaty hands. So I'm like, how am I going to be able to stick to anything, because friction is really important, obviously, in climbing. And so I'm like playing around with different, like there's a stuff called antihydral, which I think it basically denatures the proteins in your skin, like on your fingertips. And so it stops them from sweating. It like closes all the pores,
Blocks
basically.
them up, yeah.
Yeah, so it can get, but you can use it too much and you can make your skin way too like glassy, basically. So I'm playing around with that, trying to figure out the right balance.
Is this all in the rule book, Kyra, or is this?
Yeah.
It is, yeah.
Are you admitting
it is,
to
but it is a delicate process. You know, people have little razor blades that they like. It's intense. You know,
I have
climbers
seen
are
that.
always looking at. Yeah, we're always looking at it.
Yeah, I was watching the Dawn Wall on National Geographic, and I know that's extreme because this is like free climbing outdoors on like El Capitan, but yeah, like even he was in his truck just I think I saw a video of you doing it as well, just literally like 3-finger like pull-ups. It's insane the amount of strength they have, but also the amount of like the point of contact is so little, and it's literally carrying your whole body weight. Like surely there's some bad injuries or some mishaps that come out of that.
Yeah, there's also that, you know, like a finger injury is the worst injury you could get as a climber. Like I could tear my ACL and that would be better than if I got a pulley injury, because I could still train my fingers and arms, which are definitely the most important things. Obviously would prefer to not get injured at all.
Sure, yeah, that's always the way, yep.
Yeah, and it's funny, we were talking like with how much your skin can even change day to day. Holds can feel completely different, and so we were joking, it's like if a speed skater had just random hockey skates one day and you know, figure skating skates another day and had to just compete on it anyway.
Yeah,
that is fascinating.
You just have to like deal with it.
Oh my god. So do you need to base your climbs based on what your fingers are like that day? You might not go for a certain hold, or you might go for a different route up the wall just based on how your fingers are that day.
I've never really thought about it in that way, but yeah, kind of. Sometimes your skin gets really thin and they can be really painful. And so you'll either tape up and then you have to be on slightly bigger holds. So you might change what you're doing that day just because you have to let your skin heal before you can touch really textured holds or holds that you might slide on. So yeah, you do kind of base it off of it.
In terms of recovery, obviously, you know, you see the athletes in the ice baths and stuff. Are you just like putting the hands in ice, or like how are you taking care of these bad boys?
I actually have a sponsor, a partner I work with, that makes these little ice packs for your fingers. You know,
oh, that's amazing.
You know those little toys that kids have that are like
just
a
finger
tube?
puppet sort of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's just like that, but it's an ice pack, and they're awesome. I bought them forever ago and only started working with them this year. And they're awesome. So I use those a lot. They're called penguin fingers. But I think the other sport they're for is judo, because a lot of people, you grab onto their clothes a lot. So it's another grip sport. So you get a lot of finger injuries in that sport as well.
Oh, nice. So is there ever a wall that you see, every single wall that you look at, do you think there's always a way that I can get to the top? It's just how I go about it. Is there ever a wall that you think you can't get to the top of?
Definitely occasionally, especially ones that look like they're going to be really hard for my back. If it looks like something that's really twisty or bendy or pressy, something that's not up my alley. But I've definitely gotten a lot better at looking at a climb and being like, okay, how can I do this instead of how am I supposed to do it? Because sometimes the way that you're supposed to do it doesn't work for me, especially with my back. But there's something that for everybody where, you know, something's hard for them. And so there's usually a way that you can get around it that works for you. So typically, yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
No. Yeah, I saw some footage of you sort of free climbing, I guess you call it, in Vietnam, in Ha Long Bay. And is that something, I guess, post Olympics? Because I guess you're sort of focused on the indoor side of things at the moment. But is that where your love is, or do you see yourself sort of more in the outdoors and taking that free climbing route down the track?
I actually think that's another thing that's really cool about climbing is that once you're done competing, there is this entire different non-competitive aspect where you can still push yourself in the outdoors. You know, some of the hardest climbs that the world has ever seen have been getting put up this last year, just outdoors. But it's not necessarily as competitive. It's not one-on-one like competition climbing is. So it's a different way that you can push yourself. So I think it's really cool if you get kind of burnt out on competitions, you can go outside and push yourself in a totally different non-competitive way. It's more self-competitive, but it is something I really love and want to do more of. But I find it really hard to switch back and forth between the two. So when I'm focused on competition, I like to be totally focused on competition. And then if I'm going outside, I like to go on like a 3-month trip outside. So that's kind of the way I've done it, but it's definitely something I plan to do more of once I'm done competing.
Awesome.
Now, Kyra, we've got a little game for you. So it's called Not So Rapid Fire Questions. So we're going to fire some questions at you, very easy questions, but based on your answer, we might stop the clock and delve a bit further. But so we'll dive into these questions. So, Kyra, first of all, what's your favorite current series on Netflix?
Oh, okay. Last night, me and my roommate started watching Selling Sunset, which is kind of it's a trash television show, but man, those houses are cool. So.
My fiance, I'm going to say this quickly. My fiance is obsessed with that show. Look, I'm starting to come around to it.
Last night.
Oh,
promise.
Yeah, you get sucked in. Yeah.
Nice. Okay, nice. So what is your coffee order at a cafe?
I love a cappuccino.
Nice.
Can't go wrong.
So what's the latest puzzle you've done or didn't complete, and how many pieces was it?
Okay, so I did complete it, but my uncle must hate me because he sent me a 2,000 piece mini puzzle where every piece was a centimeter or smaller. Like they were all this big.
Get out of town.
And it was of the Tokyo skyline. And so this was the tiniest puzzle. It's only this big and it's 2,000 pieces. And it took me, I want to say like 9 weeks.
That is determination.
Yeah.
Your uncle's supposed to be on your side and giving you some time off, and he's training you even harder.
The only reason I finished it was because I came into contact with somebody who had COVID, so I had to quarantine for 2 weeks, and I was just alone. It was before my roommate moved in. And so I was alone in my house for 2 weeks, and I was like, I'm going to finish this puzzle. that was the only reason I got done.
2,000 pieces. Wow.
Yeah, but mini, and they did not fit together well, so I had to be sure that they would fit. Oh, it was horrible.
Not good for the fingers if you're on an off day with you wanting your fingers to repair as well.
I know. Someone asked me if they could have it, and I was like, no, I'm gluing this together. I'm never taking it.
Yes, I'm framing it. Yeah.
You don't.
Are you well? I obviously focus on the Olympics, but have you been studying recently in the past few years?
So I finished university in 2018, and have been just taking time off of school. I want to go back to veterinary school eventually. So in the US, you have to go through 4 years of undergrad and 4 years of vet school. I'm not sure how it works in other countries. But so I'm taking time off right now. That's still my general plan to go into that eventually. But I'm doing a lot of work with USA Climbing and different athlete commissions and stuff with the IFSC, which is our international federation, and USA Climbing.
Yeah, nice. And last one, I think I already know the answer to this based on what I could see in the background, but dogs or cats?
I actually love both. My apartment building does not allow dogs, and I travel too much at the moment. So cats are really perfect because they entertain themselves a lot of the time. They're actually very spoiled with quarantine. I got them during quarantine, and so they're very used to me being home. Yep.
Nice.
But I love both. Ideally, I want a Great Dane and cats. So.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I don't think a Great Dane.
That's a real juxtaposition.
Yeah.
A Great Dane and a cat.
Some little kittens. That's the dream, at least.
Oh, that's awesome. And what would you call your Great Dane?
Oh, I have not thought that far ahead, but.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
Surely Goldie or something. Goldie or something.
Yeah, after the medal you win at the Olympics.
After the medal, yeah.
Maybe Tokyo or something.
Nice. Well, that was all my rapid questions. So well done. You
handled the heat.
Well.
She handled the heat.
Yeah, if she can handle the pressure from the rapid questions, she can handle the pressure of the Olympics for sure. For sure.
Definitely.
I love it.
Feel prepared now.
Mac, have you got any more, mate?
That's about it. I just want to say, thanks so much for giving us the time. Obviously, you're pretty busy. Is it you got a day off today, or is it another day of training? Do you have any days off?
Yeah, we tend to train 5 days a week, and then 2 days are full rest days. So Wednesdays and Sundays tend to be our full rest days. So resting today.
Yeah, nice.
Probably
What's
gonna
on?
go to the park though. Nice day. So.
Nice. Yeah, what do you like to do on your rest days?
Typically I clean my house. It's not very exciting. But
You could take a few leaps out of that book there, JA, I think.
Yeah.
when it's nice out, so during winter it was a little more like homebound, but during summer and nicer times we've been going to the park a lot, especially because it's nice to hang out with people outside. So
yeah, how is it over there in Salt Lake in terms of the restrictions and lockdown and stuff? You're able to get out of it?
Well, we're able. Utah is a red state, so it means that it's not as strict as some of the other areas of the U.S. For better or for worse. But so we've actually not had very strict mandates at any point. Salt Lake City is pretty liberal, so our mayor has put mask mandates and stuff, but we haven't had any really severe lockdowns actually. Nothing like California or Oregon or Washington all had like really strict lockdowns, like gyms have been closed this whole time, whereas they've been open most of the time here. And my cat is trying.
Pay attention to me. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not terrible here, but they probably should have been stricter, honestly, like a lot. So
yeah,
it would have been in a better scenario. So
nice. Well, we're currently still in lockdown over here in London, so we know exactly what it's like to be not really doing much.
We're looking forward to the Olympics. That's one thing that's sort of keeping us going. So yeah, thanks again for joining us, Kyra. It's been great to sort of get to know you, and yeah, we're rooting for you over here. You've got a big fan base now, Australians, and we'll get the British onto you as well. So yeah, thanks again.
Thanks, I appreciate it.
That's it, Kyra. We'll be cheering for you from the time it starts. So yeah, good luck at the Olympics. We're sure that you're going to win gold. We're sure. So yeah, thanks so much for giving us the time. And,
one last ultimatum: if you do get a medal, can you promise that you'll come back on the show for us?
Yeah, definitely.
Yes, huge. That's better than me missing out on a spot in the Olympics. I'm happy with that.
That's fantastic.
No, I had a great time. This is one of the more fun podcasts I've done for sure.
Well, we're happy, and we're also happy that we're going to get a gold medalist onto the show once you win. So that's fantastic.
Thanks again.
Sweet, thanks. Yeah, thank you.
Kyra, thanks. Yeah, thanks so much for and we will definitely be backing you when it comes time.
Oh, sweet, thanks. Yeah. Oh, and so there's two Toms from Australia who are both super strong. It's Tom O'Halloran who got the spot. I couldn't remember which one, which last name. But
okay.
I was like, there's two Toms. I don't want to say the wrong one. It's Tom O'Halloran is the super strong.
Okay, cool.
They're both super strong, but he's the one who got the Olympic spot. Yeah.
We'll try and get him on.
That was a little power move there from Kyra, just like getting in his head a bit, just forgetting his name for
I don't even compete against him. It's for my teammates who are gonna compete against him. No, just.
I love it.
Cool.
Oh, fantastic.
Perfect. Well, have a good day.
Yeah, you too.
No worries.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Kyra. Cheers.
Yeah, nice to meet you.
Bye.
Bye.